Despite the serious problems facing the party, ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa says those who think the ruling party will be ousted from power are merely dreaming. Let's get some insight now from Professor Sethulego Matebesi, who's a political analyst. A very good morning to you. Thank you so much for your time. The ANC hoping to fill that 43,000 plus capacity stadium out in Mpumalanga, Mbombela. In fact, as some of my colleagues, Mweli Masilela has been interacting with people attending this statement, expectations are high. They talk about the water situation as they look in their area, about hoping to find some solutions. They talk about load shedding, and they're also hoping that this statement will be inspirational in tackling unemployment. What's at stake, and what are the big challenges that lie ahead of this January 8th statement?
Hi, good morning, Paul, and good morning to your viewers. Very important. I also got an opportunity to watch some of the interviews earlier this morning and just before this interview. And for the very first time, what for me is very commendable, where you've got an ANC, a youth from the Youth League or young member of the African National Congress not being arrogant, because this has been the problem also of the African National Congress, right through from their senior leaders up to the rank and file members, being too arrogant about the current situation in South Africa. For the very first time, I've heard somebody coming out in public and say, we acknowledge some of the challenges that our African National Congress is facing, but we are here to celebrate. And I want to concur with the president of the African National Congress. It's still too early to write off the ANC, despite all the challenges that we face in South Africa. They are just those people who will die for the African National Congress when it comes to elections. And we may have different views about the reality and the contribution currently of the African National Congress to try and ensure that every South African has a better life that they themselves promised in 1994.
Yeah. As we are essentially talking about an ANC fighting for its survival, what do you think are some of the important considerations which will add weight to this year's January 8th statement, especially considering the former President Jacob Zuma working the ground to reduce the ANC's majority, and also really looking at President Cyril Ramaphosa's term, concluding in 2024?
Well, perhaps where I would like to start off, we might just have, and I don't know whether this is possible, the announcement of an election date. But if you look in general, some of the issues that, since 1994, that have been tackled in this January 8th statement, which is actually a precursor to the opening of Parliament, or what I would say the national debate, or State of the Nation debate address. So for me, issues such as challenges in terms of municipal service delivery, the economy, slow economy, the unemployment, those are some of the issues that the African National or the president will definitely tackle on, focus on. But I strongly also believe, as in the case during the past week, they will also reflect on some of the successes that of the African National Congress has achieved, despite all these enormous challenges that this organization will be facing going into this election.
In trying to speak to those challenges, of course, a lot of the, obligations which were set out even last year are still yet to be met. What sort of caution or perhaps manner in which the ANC needs to strike the right notes with voters? What will the president need to say, especially just looking back at broken promises?
Yeah, well, it's a party that is facing an onslaught. And for the very first time, I often say each election brings new challenges for the ruling party. And this year's election will definitely be around the impact of the party that has been formed by its former Secretary General Act, Isma Hashude, and also Mkondo Wesizwe, where Jacob Zuma have also now taken quite a lead in terms of campaigning for that particular party. It will be very interesting what impact that scenario will have on the African National Congress, and I sincerely believe that there will be an impact, but the president needs to boost the confidence of its rank and file members. And there are many members of the African National Congress, sympathetic supporters, who perhaps in the past have not exercised their democratic right to vote for the party. By just sitting at home. And this is an opportunity perhaps once again for the ANC president to indicate to its members that despite all the challenges, there has been significant achievements. But whether this will strike a note with these members, that is another question, because the challenges that many South Africans are facing are just enormous. And it's not only about the challenges that South Africans face on a daily basis, it's also what is happening within the ANC, the internal dynamics or within the party, a party which sometimes I strongly believe that takes time to take action against certain members, and it creates a perception that some members within the African National Congress are untouchable, and that does not sit well with many members of the party.
Very well. Thank you so much for weighing in on this discussion. Political analyst Sethulego Matebesi, giving us a sense of some expectations and what the ANC will need to say to hit the right notes with voters ahead of the January 8th statement later on.